Hey y'all, it's Krypton Critics. I'm here to review War for the Planet of the Apes. Now, this is the newest film, the cap of the trilogy of the new, I guess, either rebooted or prequelized, franchise of, what was started back in the late '60s. Where, like the title suggests, apes have taken over and humans are, the weak and you know basically defenseless over time. In this film franchise, it was a virus that was killing off most of the humans, and like small groups had to get together to try to protect their towns, like in Dawn. And in this movie is about the remnants of different militaries, and this one just happens to be United States military because they live uh, in Northern California. you know, I think we've been progressively going farther north because in the first one, we were last place that I think we were in was the Golden Gate Bridge. Um, Now, this film is fantastic in pretty much every respect. Uh, now, I really enjoy this movie, but I don't think it's perfect. Perfect is, you know, kind of somewhat misleading. Perfect as how we experience it, because every film has a few sins. Based especially based on editing. A lot of films have problems with that. Caesar, he continues to be a badass. Andy Serkis, just give this fucking man, an Oscar. He is brilliant in all the motion capture I've seen him do. Whether it's Gollum or this character, uh, you can feel his pain. I really enjoyed. By the way, this is a spoiler review. He would have visions of his old enemy, Koba, and it kind of reminded me of when Jack from Samurai Jack would have visions in the last season shown on Adult Swim. He would like see his younger self like angry at him, saying that he's not doing enough. Has reminded me of, and it really resonates with his character, and it would be really upsetting if it wasn't, but thankfully it is, and it's awesome. Uh, we get the turn of a few characters, like we get Blue Eyes and Cornelia. I think that's Caesar's wife, and Blue Eyes is his teenage son. Uh, yeah, Blue Eyes doesn't make it out of this movie. He gets shot by the colonel or general played by Woody Harrelson when they are trying to raid the land that the apes live on. Caesar was giving them an option to have peace, but no, humans want to fuck around and think they know everything and shit. But yeah, one of the big pluses I can give to this movie, it looks beautiful. Not just the motion capture, which is, in my opinion, like bleeding edge, breaking ground technology, and it's amazing what we can do these days. But just how they frame scenes, they may have done some different types of coloration for certain scenes. How they keep everything in shot, how they get things out of focus and out of focus, like it's your eye. It really has good operation, and it has a great visual language to give to the audience, and I do appreciate that very much. So in this movie, we find out that the virus is mutated, and a few more people are catching it. Similar in the way that HIV had mutated, and it's harder to try to keep it from becoming AIDS and very deadly to people that contracted. But in this, with this virus, they start to, the mind starts to go and deteriorate a little bit. They start acting more primal. This is why Woody Harrelson's character murdered his son because he contracted it, and Woody Harrelson contracts it from the doll that that was owned by this little human girl named Nova. Which is a callback to the original series because there was this chick named Nova from I think the first movie, and I think she's named after the Chevrolet Nova. Okay, it was a little weird, but it's still fun. Like pretty much all the problems for the two, definitely for the first act, pretty much everything I loved, start to the end of that whole section, that 40 minutes, to me is perfect. The second act, parts of it were kind of dragged for me, and parts of it kind of took me out of the movie. But thankfully it was still building character. It wasn't just, doing nothing. I've seen movies that do nothing in the middle. It's like, oh wait, shit, well, we gotta finish this plot. But no, they don't pull that type of shit with us. This movie's a lot of fun. There's a character they introduced in this one. He's referred to as Bad Ape. He does have a lot of comedic moments that counterbalance the very serious tone of the majority of this movie. I kind of smirked, and because when I would hear him, I never laughed out loud. I've heard a lot of people in my theater laugh out loud because they're like, "Holy shit, this guy is freaking hilarious." I'm like, he part of me doesn't want to laugh because I'm like, I know this character has some kind of like mental disease or mental ailment. He seems like he has some form of retardation. Of course, I can't confirm it. They don't say that he's never diagnosed by a chimp doctor or anything like that. But yeah, I love the real world parallels to the conflict. It has a lot of similarities to fighting techniques of the war on terrorism, Vietnam. I saw a lot of parallels to torture that you would see back in World War II and Vietnam, where even Americans were performing a lot of horrible atrocities because they perceived the enemy as not human. Now, for all intents and purposes, these characters that are primates in this movie are people. I was for a long time I've never been the biggest animal rights, but I do have more of a softer spot for chimpanzees because they seem so human. And screw it, you can call me a specious or whatever you want. I'm not going to be upset about it. We have the primates sent to this POW camp, and they're being tortured and being whipped and forced to make a wall to offset this other army, and they're just kind of blown away by an avalanche. I'm still conflicted about that plot point towards the end of the movie. But part of me wanted to see the result of the apes failing. But then again, if we're trying to uphold the continuity somewhat, or rebooted continuity of the original movies, the apes have to win. So I understand, the good side and downside of it. It just, part of it seemed cheap to me. I mean, it was satisfactory what it led up to. I mean, writers do this all the time. Hell, I'm a comic book writer. I've done shit like this. But, sometimes it feels different than when you're reading it, than when you actually see it. And it just, especially in film, when you see, minutes go by, it's different than seeing on a page, because if you go down like different lines, sometimes they'll have chapter or paragraphs to separate them. Film usually doesn't have that, and it doesn't. It makes an ambiguity of time placement. With film, if you're setting it mostly in one shot and the setup, it seems like one happens right out the other, or one took place right before the other, because we're seeing another character's perspective of what's going on in the same set piece. But nonetheless, it's still, you gotta give the movie props for it. It's visceral. It feels real. There's a lot of great action. A lot of once again, a lot of great acting. Woody Harrelson gives a really great performance. At one point, I thought I was gonna like him, but the more I hear him talk, and he's not just one note, and I was glad about that. Now, one note villains can work in a certain film because it serves the story, and sometimes they'll get fleshed out in another movie. Once again, spoilers. Motherfucker shoots himself, and most people don't come back from that. I'm just saying. It was one of my favorite parts is when Caesar loses his wife and his oldest child. He gets conflicted if he wants revenge or he wants to protect his ape kind. He goes out. He starts questioning if he should really kill this guy. He gets upset with his orangutan friend Maurice, because at one point he called him Koba. When he said that shit, I got goosebumps. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, oh shit, Maurice is dead. I'm like, thankfully he didn't die. He's a cool character. But I was expecting him to like just snap his neck. And using the underground tunnels as a plot point, I liked it and didn't like it at the same time. It seemed a little weird and off-putting at some points. I love the music by Michael Giacchino, who did Doctor Strange, Incredibles, Rogue One. Pretty much every movie he does the soundtrack to, he knocks it out of the park. You may not remember it, you may not hum it when you go home. Once you hear it, you're like, ooh, actually sounds good. That gets you pumped, or you feel the sorrow when you're especially in the theater. When you have the surround sound boosting. But guys, go fucking see this movie. It's fun as hell. I'm not going at anybody that loves the ambulance scene, that loves laughs out loud at Bad Ape. I can't forget Red, who was kind of like the sellout character, and then he changes a little bit. He saves Caesar at the end. Caesar dies. I'm not sure. I may have to watch it again if I really enjoyed him dying. I mean, not laughing at him dying, but it didn't really sting. Like, similarly to another movie that came out this year, where it was taking a more serious approach, like Logan. When the main character died, I felt that shit hard. I mean, you could argue that I've seen Hugh Jackman play Wolverine more than Andy Serkis playing Caesar, but it's all about how you play it, because sometimes a character you can only see in one movie dies, and you just get streamers. But this movie is still damn fun. I give it I'm gonna give it A. I'm gonna give it solid A. It was teetering a little bit for A minus for me, but I still really enjoy it. I feel like I need to see it again. Just so much is great, and so much is just fucking awesome. And go see it. Tell me what y'all think. This is, in my opinion, this is one of the best film trilogies if you count 1, 2, 3 of them being released. I still liked the Star Wars trilogy more, but this is a good contender with the big boys. It's part of the Krypton critics. Well, now it's just me, but I love you, and anyone else that shows up, we love you.